Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rundown. Tonight is the Easter Vigil of the Resurrection of the Lord, April 3rd, 2021. I'm Chris Dixon, and this is Info Weather. Let's get right into this week in liturgy. Tomorrow is Easter Sunday, and the rest of the days are octave days of Easter Sunday itself, which actually all have the rank of solemnity. And then we move on to Divine Mercy Sunday next Sunday, April 11th. I am very happy to announce the newest thing, not necessarily associated with InfoWeather. In fact, it's more of a personal project that I invite you all to listen in on. It's called Returning to Tradition. It's available on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it, it's there. Returning to Tradition. The trailer is out now. The first episode will be out next Wednesday, April 14th. It's about the Gen Z movement towards tradition and how Gen Z is generally very devout in their faith, especially compared to some of the previous generations. We're going to have a new guest on the show every week, generally going to be a Gen Z Catholic person, and we're going to interview them, see their thoughts on how Gen Z is making the Catholic Church a better place. Let's move on to weather. Severe tropical, no winter weather, or at least nothing too crazy in the United States this week. And then we're moving on to, of course, our local forecast for Columbus and Oklahoma. We're looking at a chance of severe weather Tuesday over Kansas and Oklahoma. Wind and hail risks are possible in that general vicinity. By the time we move to Wednesday, the area outlined here on this map on Wednesday over the Ozarks, all severe hazards will be possible. That includes wind, hail, and of course tornadoes as well, yet again affecting the northern Mississippi area because they can't catch a break. By the time we get to Thursday, we could see some more severe weather towards the East Coast, but at this point in time, it's too early to tell. Again, so midweek this week, we're going to be looking at severe weather threats for the United States. In terms of tropical weather, we have several areas of interest being tracked by the Climate Prediction Center, where we could see some formation. We do have two current invests south of Indonesia, north of Australia, in that general vicinity. No threat to land, I don't think, either of them. One has a high chance of formation, the other with a medium chance of formation. As we can see, the other risk areas outlined in red for the next 2 weeks, or 10 days, as the case may be now. As for Columbus, we're looking at low 70s all week this week. That's going to be a nice surprise as opposed to the 20-degree weather last week. We're going to have some storms possible generally throughout the week. It's going to be a really rainy and wet week. As they say, April showers do bring May flowers, so hopefully that will be making its way towards the Columbus area. Those May flowers, that is. But it is definitely going to be wet for the most part of this week. By the time all the rain finishes out, that should say into the weekend, but by the time most of the rain finishes out, we're going to be in the low 60s Friday into the weekend. And again, a little bit more rain and storms possible Friday and the weekend as well. So again, storms and rain likely for a good chunk of time in Columbus. As for Norman, we're looking at the mid-70s and sunny the rest of this weekend. We're also going to be around 80 for the high all week, perhaps hitting the mid-80s a couple days throughout the week. And we're going to begin the week with a lot of wind as well, but that's not unusual here for Norman. I realized that I said week like 10 times, but whatever. We are also looking at some storms here and there. Again, like I mentioned, probably Tuesday might be the best chance. I want to say Thursday or Friday also has a chance of a storm or two, so we're going to keep an eye on those. Again, nothing radically tornado outbreaky expected, not only in Norman, but throughout most of the United States. U.S. news and sports, we're talking March Madness and Cicadas tonight. Gonzaga and UCLA play. By the time this video is released, the result of that will be known, and on Easter Monday we'll have the matchups. My guess is like Gonzaga or Baylor. Baylor or Houston could go either way. So also UCLA, if they just continue, that would be hilarious. I mean, UCLA is the Cinderella of all Cinderellas. So that's kind of wild. Cicadas, we're looking at many areas getting their 17-year cicadas this week, most of Indiana, parts of Ohio as well, including the Columbus metro area and parts of Pennsylvania and the Appalachian Mountains in Tennessee as well, and the surrounding areas there. So definitely going to be on the lookout for cicadas. Good luck sleeping here. 17-year cicada outbreak in Columbus. I obviously don't remember when the last time the cicadas came out because I was like 3 years old. So, kind of unfortunate that I'm not going to be there, but I may actually end up being there. Well, it depends on how late the cicadas come out. It's going to occur sometime late April to early May. So if it waits till like early or late May or mid-May, I might be back home to see the cicadas. Not necessarily that's something I want to see, but it's something to do. Let's get into coronavirus video update number 14 on the year. Again, our great state of Kansas having no new cases per capita because they're fancy like that. By no new cases per capita, that obviously means like less than one. It's not absolutely zero, like they're getting no cases at all. Michigan went up pretty high this past week, so not sure what that's about. Also, Pennsylvania on the way up. It looks like Ohio's ticking upward a little bit, as well as New York. So remember, continue to wear your mask because the pandemic is not over as much as many of you want it to be, myself included. Across the United States, we have some of the lowest death rates we've seen in quite some time. California and West Virginia lead the way, but they're only at half of a person per capita in terms of new deaths, which again isn't great, but it is significantly improved from some previous weeks where we've had several states over one person per capita. So we're slowly improving, slowly getting better. The hospitalization map is back this week. I guess the data can now be accessed, so the script can be run, and so I can copy the map from Tomer. And so here it is. You see Michigan, New Jersey, and New York stinking up the joint. Everywhere else, basically somewhere around 5 to 7-ish on average in terms of current hospitalization. Okay, maybe a little bit higher than that, but doesn't really matter. Moving on to vaccinations, everybody doing pretty well. Last week, the lowest state was around the mid to upper 400s per capita per day. And now the lowest is Alabama at 588, so over 100 more per capita per day throughout the United States. We're also seeing the Northeast take off in terms of the number of vaccinations that they're administering, so that's good. In terms of the variants, the UK variant is still, I guess, in all 49 states except for Oklahoma. That would be the 50th if it were there. 12,000 cases of the UK variant now throughout the whole entire United States. That was around 8,000 last week, so that's increased nearly 50% in the past week alone. Now, if those types of increases remind you of anything, the beginning of COVID last year. So let's just hope that doesn't happen. The South African variant, 31 states, 323 cases, nothing too crazy, did increase pretty well in the past week. The Brazilian variant now in 22 states, 224 cases, which more than doubles the previous case count of last week. So that is also big. U.S. infections over time, as we can see, we've been going up for a week, and then we're back down for a week, and then we're back up for a week. So the latest projection has it basically staying in a straight line as we head into the month of May. Those with at least one dose number about 40% in the state of New Mexico, which continues to lead the way nationwide in terms of vaccinations. We see several states doing very well as well. Most states above 25%. In fact, all of them except for, of course, Alabama again. But that's beside the point. Moving on to the total fully vaccinated people. Again, the Dakotas and New Mexico continue to lead the way. New Mexico almost at that 25% mark. And then we have the Mormons in Utah and the people in Georgia. The Baptists, is that the religion? I don't know. Anyways, either way, those states pulling up the caboose of the fully vaccinations in the United States. Nationwide, we're over 1 million administered first doses. So at least 100 million people have received that first dose for real. Around 60 million fully vaccinated. That's 18% of the population. Of those over 18, 40% of people have received their first dose. Of those over 65, 75% of people have received that first dose, and over half of them have been fully vaccinated. So that is very good news. Over 200 million vaccines have been distributed, which means 77 or so percent of the vaccines distributed have actually been administered. And my note here says we have nearly 20 million more first doses this week and 10 million more people fully vaccinated this week. The news here, probably one of the biggest news, is that Rutgers is mandating a vaccine for students in the fall. Cornell is as well. Nova Southeastern and Florida also mandating a vaccine for their students in the fall. In Oklahoma, including, of course, yours truly at the University of Oklahoma, the University of Central Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State will not be mandating the vaccine. In addition, the University of California will not be mandating the vaccine. Dickinson State University in North Dakota is allowing students to not wear a mask if they have been fully vaccinated. They're given a pin or a bracelet that they can wear to denote that, and then walk around campus without their mask. In my personal opinion, I think most universities should follow that guideline, precedent, if one wants to use that term, but the word precedent means nothing now because everything's unprecedented. Anyways, worldwide cases over 130 million, worldwide deaths over 2 3/4, worldwide recoveries over 1 million, and the worldwide current cases actually up 1 million from last week to 22 3/4. France continues to get a lot more cases, which is rather unfortunate, potentially overtaking the United States, given they're going up rapidly and the United States is coming down. India continues to move up. 3 weeks ago, they were unranked. Last week, they were number 6. Now they're number 5, nearing 700,000 cases. They got 200,000 new active cases this week alone. The United Kingdom continues to drop rapidly. They were 7th last week. They lost 100,000 cases. Now they're down to 9th place, and Russia flipped out for Turkey for the number 10 slot. In the United States, over 31 million cases, and I think around 7,000 more deaths this past week, as we near 24 million recoveries, and we finally go below the 7 million mark, dropping over 100,000 cases in this past week. Florida is now continues to be out of the top 3, which is good, but Virginia continues to increase, perhaps overtaking New York. California has been relatively steady. And that's really it in terms of crazy news. I think Georgia and Kentucky flipped, but that wasn't anything too notable. In terms of the news this week, we don't have a whole lot. I think we only have 1 segment on U.S. and 2 in international, so let's get into it. 3 shootings this Lent occurred in Missouri at the Benedictines of Mary, Queen of the Apostles Abbey. There was a shooting in 2019 as well, and a shooting in 2010 hit a statue of Mary. So all of those things, of course, not very good. The sheriffs are supposedly patrolling the area a bit more frequently in an effort to perhaps prevent this. The nuns are also beginning a fundraising effort to put up a fence around their property, as well as installing surveillance cameras around the area. International Catholic news, only 2 things this week. So let's get into it. First off, the London police interrupted a Good Friday liturgy at a Polish Catholic church in southern London. The police entered the sanctuary, which at this particular church, I saw the video. It's basically communion railed off. It's also an Eastern Catholic church, so think of it like that. And the police entered the sanctuary. So first of all, that's a big no-no. In my opinion, the Roman view of the sanctuary is trash because anybody's allowed up there. Basically, it at least seems that way. It's pretty weak. In the East, though, like in the Eastern Orthodox, at least, nobody's allowed in the sanctuary unless, like, you're the priest and maybe some of his attendants, depending on the specifics there. So that would be ideal, but that's not what we do. So anyways, the police entered the sanctuary and they told everyone to leave or get fined in the middle of the service. So they didn't do the Good Friday service. They claimed social distancing and masks weren't applied, but I don't really care. The police should never interrupt the middle of a liturgy. That is absolutely wild and stupid. If you want to talk to the pastor and find the place after the fact, okay, but not in the middle of the liturgy. At least it wasn't mass. I guess that's the only thing that I can say. At least it wasn't mass, but it was like the most solemn liturgy other than tonight's liturgy of the Easter Vigil. In any case, now it is Easter. By the time you're viewing this, it's either 11 o'clock Central or midnight Eastern, which is after the Easter Vigil has occurred. Christ is risen. Alleluia. Alleluia. It is of note, though, that some Catholics and all Orthodox are still in Lent, some of these for a whole month. In fact, I think it's like early May this year that some Orthodox will be celebrating Easter, and some Catholics as well. And who do we have to blame? Well, either Pope Gregory the 13th for changing the calendar or Julius Caesar for getting it wrong in the first place. So you pick your poison on who you want to blame for this. And this is your reminder that recommunion of the East and West would be fantastic for the church as a whole. That's my 2 cents. And this is The Rundown. I've been Chris Dixon, InfoWeather Catholic Media.